Okay, hello again. In this tutorial I will be showing you how to do a very simple makeover of a photograph, and in this case it's the photograph of a girl called Lucy. And so there's my folder on the desktop. If I open that up, there's young Lucy there. So let's just close that and we'll go and launch Photoshop. And we'll start with opening up the photograph of Lucy, and we'll see what we can do. Alright, so Photoshop has launched. You can see that the menu's up there. We go to File, we go to Open, and it'll say, okay, where is this photo of Lucy? And I know it's on the desktop because I just showed you that. And there it is, Lucy Makeover. So we open that up, and there she is, Lucy JPEG. We click Open, and here she comes. There she is. Now, I don't know Lucy. I just said I did a Google search a couple of years ago, and I don't know who she is. She's probably some American girl, so hopefully she won't find out about this, because we're going to do some pretty amazing things with her face. So we'll start with just looking at the color of the photo. Now, with manipulation and with digital imaging in Photoshop, often you have to go and zoom in and out all the time. Okay, and you can use these features from the view menu. You can go zoom in, here we go again, zoom in, and every time you zoom in you have to kind of change the size of the window. I prefer to use the keyboard shortcut for zooming in, and I'll just show you what I mean. If I press the Command and Spacebar together, Spacebar and Command, you get this little magnifying glass, which is the same magnifying glass that you see in your toolbar. Right down the bottom there, the zoom tool. Okay, so with the magnifying glass, it doesn't matter what tool you're on, you can actually click and zoom in, and if you hold down the Option key as well, it brings up a negative symbol, which means that you can zoom out. Now, if that's not amazing, watch what happens when you just press and drag your mouse onto the image. Look at that beautiful gradual zoom, and then again hold down the Option key. So now I've got the Command, Option and Spacebar keys pressed down, and there you go. So you get used to zooming in and out with the keyboard rather than using the view menu, these things here, or rather than using the tool itself, which it all works, but I just find the keyboard shortcuts a lot better. So let me just zoom in, and the first thing I want to show you is how to change the red eye. So some photographs have this thing called red eye. There is actually a red eye tool, and it's just where the Band-Aid tool is in your toolbar. There it is, red eye. This is just a one-click operation. If you choose the red eye tool and then go over to the area of the image that has the red eye and click once, Photoshop will do its best to get rid of the red eye. So that's just one click on the eye, red eye gone. So that's pretty straightforward. The next thing that you may want to do is change the color of the photo. Quite often with digital photos, you're at the mercy of the camera and the light that you're working in. Sometimes you're using flash, sometimes you're not using flash. It just depends on the camera itself and the user, of course, the operator. So under the image menu, you have got all these different adjustments that you can do to a photograph. You know, brightness, contrast, levels, curves. A lot of them won't make much sense, but brightness and contrast is probably the one that most people know. That's just simply making an image brighter or darker. And you can actually add the contrast. You can increase the contrast. So, and you can go overboard if you want. You can do that, which is too much. I'll just cancel that. I will go to one of my favorites. It's called levels. Okay, now I use levels all the time because with levels, you've got, I'll just move it to the right here. You've got these three little triangles. Now the first one, the little white one here, that controls the highlight areas of the image. So if I find the image a bit dark, I can actually drag that across to the left. The middle one affects the midtones, which is kind of like the grey areas. And then you've got the shadow, which is the black one. So if I move each of these little triangles independently, you can see I can actually make adjustments to the photograph without too much fuss. and then click OK on that. So I've actually corrected it a little bit. I'll just undo that. Instead of going to edit and going undo levels, I'll just go Command and Z on my keyboard. What a lot of people do is instead of affecting the whole of the photograph, all the photograph, they take the Lasso Tool, which is this baby here, they type in a feather of, say, 45. Now, feather, how can you explain feather? All right, the higher the number that you type into the feather box, the softer the area that you select. So it has like a soft edge. And I'll just show you an example. If I don't have a feather, if I type in 0 there, and I select her forehead, okay, if I press the delete key, actually I won't do that, sorry. If I want to affect just the forehead, how can I do this? Okay, let's go Command L. Okay, so if I start to bring these levels up and down, you can see it's got a hard edge to it. It looks obvious that I'm actually manipulating it. So let me just Command D to deselect that. And this time, let me change the feather to 45. Okay, so now I'm going to select the forehead. The feather has been changed to 45 pixels. Command L. Now watch the difference now. Now I'm affecting the area, but it's not obvious that I'm actually doing this because I've created like a soft edge around the selection of 45 pixels. And so it's actually looking more smoother. Now, what I'll do is, instead of just doing the forehead, let me select the whole of the girl's face. So I'll just adjust that. You can click anywhere to deselect, or you can press Command D to deselect. Either way works. You can just click once outside of the area, or you can press Command D. I'm just going to change that to 65, and I'm just going to select the girl's face, a little bit of the neck, and I'm just dragging the Lasso Tool around. So I've now selected that area there. And let's say you decide, oh, hang on, I want a bit more neck. If you hold down the Shift key, you can actually keep dragging and add. Look, I'm actually pressing and dragging my mouse, and I'm adding more neck to my selected area by holding down the Shift key. So this is called Shift and Drag. Alright, so now I've got the whole face and the neck selected, and if I go Command L, I can adjust the levels of just the face, not the hair, not the photograph behind, just the girl's face. You can see the hair is untouched, it's left alone. Now just cancel that. If I decide that I don't want the eyes to change, I hold the Option key down and I can actually cut out little holes. In other words, deselect the area for the eyes. Okay, that's a bit better. So now it's like she's wearing a face mask. I've selected the whole face, the neck, but not the eyes. And now if I go Command L, it'll only affect the selected areas and leave the eyes alone. And this is really important because sometimes you want to affect an area of an image but not another area. So it's important that you know that with selection you can add an area of selection by holding down the Shift key, or you can delete an area of selection by holding down the Option key. I'll just show you the Option one again. I'm holding down the Option key. I don't know if you can see this is a little minus symbol next to the lasso icon. And if I go in here, I've reduced that area there. This is holding down the Option key, and I'm just selecting an area to reduce the area. If I switch from Option to Shift, I can add it back. So Option and Shift key selection is really important. Now Command D to deselect, and we have just adjusted the girl's contrast and brightness of her face, the exposure of her face, so to speak. Another wonderful adjustment I can do under the image menu is this thing called Hue and Saturation. So with Hue and Saturation, it's a bit cruder because you can actually make it look a little bit more surreal, especially with the hue. You can see what's happening there. It looks awful. Okay, but you know, depending on the image, you might need to use a bit of hue and saturation. I'll just cancel that. The one that I use a lot, other than levels, is this thing called color balance. This is really, really good. So this one basically means that if I find that the photograph is a little bit cold, or it's got a bit of a warm cast, I can actually adjust it by moving these sliders. So watch what happens when I go from highlights, and I'm just going to make it warmer. I'm just going to move the yellow and the red. Okay, moving the sliders towards the yellow, away from the blue, towards the red, away from the cyan, shadows, midtones and highlights. And look, I've made the whole girl's face look warmer than what it was. And if I undo the preview button here, if I uncheck the preview button, you can see the before and after. It's quite remarkable. Flash photography tends to make people's faces look colder than what they are. Alright, so that's just manipulating some of the I guess the skin tones of the girl's face. And just look, before we get into retouching face marks, pimples, warts and all that, I just want to show you one of my favorite filters in Photoshop called the Liquify Filter. If you've ever wondered how they make models on magazines look trimmer, if they make boobs look bigger, waistlines thinner, they use the Liquify filter. And this is how it works. If I choose Liquify, you go into this special area. So I'll just zoom out a bit. And so we're actually in the Liquify command center. And on the left hand side, we'll look at the tools first. You've got all these wonderful tools that do different things to the pixels, the girl's face. And look, you can experiment with each one. Obviously, it's going to be trial and error. If I just stay with the forward warp tool, if I want to use that, the best way of demonstrating this tool is to make the brush size, so now I'm over here, make the brush size reasonably big, you know, about 900 will be good enough. Now and look how big my brush is now. Now if I take my mouse and go to the bottom part of her chin, okay, she's got a slight bit of, I want to be nice about it, but it looks like she's got a bit of a double chin there. If I start pressing and dragging my mouse inwards, okay, what I'm actually doing is a bit of a liposuction. I'm reducing, and I've just got to be careful how I do this because I don't want it to look weird, but just by pressing and dragging, I can actually give poor Lucy a bit of a facelift. Okay, now see that nose there? If I go and change the tool to, what's this one? This is called the, we don't want bloating, we want the pucker tool. Bloating makes things bigger, pucker makes them smaller. Now again, watch what happens. I'll just zoom in. I'm just going to make the nose a little bit smaller. Be careful because look at the eyes, she's looking a bit more Asian now. So quickly, Command Z. Just gently, just single clicks. The brush is way too big, I've got to be honest. Let me just Command Z that. Okay. Now, maybe I should make the brush smaller, Con, because that's ridiculous. Let's go and make the brush a bit smaller. Because if the brush is too big, it's going to affect other parts of the face. That's better. Now I'm just making the nose nice and small. Oops. Nostrils. I've almost lost the nostrils. Hang on, where they gone? They've gone. Okay, I've really stuffed it up. See how I've really distorted her nose? Don't worry. If you really stuff it up, and this happens when you're learning, you can actually restore everything by clicking on the restore button. Okay? And everything goes back to normal. So, you know, don't be scared if you experiment. Like if I make the eyes, I'm going to bloat the eyes now. Watch this. The eyes are going to become really big. Whoa. Oh. I'm usually better at this than this. All right, here we go. Okay, restore all. Okay, try that again, Con. It's right, it really is trial and error. But yeah, you can make people look really funny with these tools. Depending on what you do, and depending on how much practice you have. You can make the smile bigger, you can make the nose longer, you can make the eyes more droopy, the eyebrows can go up. So that's pretty wacky, isn't it, already? It would take maybe a day to perfect and to master this tool. Poor Lucy, what have we done to her? One day I'll probably get a phone call from Lucy herself when she finds out what I've been doing to her face during my classes. It's not bad, is it, though? It's a lot of fun, and a lot of students love this. Once you know how to liquify a person's face, there's no going back, really. It's just liposuction every day, cosmetic surgery every day. So look, that's the Liquify tool. I'll just cancel that. And I think that's the end of that first basic tutorial. We'll leave it at that for now. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Okay, bye-bye.